Hey, Binghamton University. My name is Nicole. I am the DEI Initiative Assistant at Fleischman Career Center, and today we have Janmariz for our Be Real interview, and let's be real. So hi, Janmariz. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to join us for interview. If you would like to introduce yourself before we get into the questions.
Of course. Hi y'all, peace and love. My name is Janmariz. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a junior majoring in human development, minoring in education and theater. I'm also in the 4+1 program for higher education and student affairs. I work at the Fleischman Center as a senior peer consultant. I've been an orientation advisor, and I'm also the president for the Disabled Student Union.
So just talking about your role as the president of Disabled Student Union, can you tell us more about your journey as becoming that president, as well as what kind of inspired you to take on that leadership role?
Yeah, I joined DSU when there was still a starting and founding organization my freshman year, and at that time I honestly didn't even feel that confident describing myself as a disabled person. I would always describe myself as chronically ill, and it honestly was just because I didn't feel a connection to community. I didn't feel disabled enough to qualify for that, but I will say the people who were the founders, I would really like to shout out Cass Taylor. She was one of the president and the founders right before me, and she really helped and inspired my own individual journey with this. And coming into that light and into this empowerment, I just wanted to give that same experience for disabled students across Binghamton University. I had a lot of leadership experience from high school and my freelance advocacy, so a lot of the workload to become a chartered organization, become an official organization kind of fell on me because I just kept volunteering to do things. And within my year of presidency, we've been able to be provisionally chartered on the Student Association now.
Congrats. I feel like, hearing your journey, it's just so inspiring because it's like at first you weren't confident, and then now you're like, you're in the spot and it's a lot of like pressure, but I feel like you seem really resilient and hardworking, and I feel like that's an amazing kind of like accomplishment as well. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much.
So kind of expanding on that, like how has your experience as a president of DSU kind of helped you in your advocacy work, as you kind of previously mentioned the question before, particularly in kind of creating like a space for disabled students on campus?
Yeah, well, I would also like to shout out like my DSU fam. I always say this as part of like our presentation or our spiel. We both teach each other and learn from each other, and I think that's a really, really special community that we have. You might see a lot of like me talking about the accomplishments of DSU just because I'm in a very public-facing position, but a lot of the work that we put together is very collaborative. What I love about DSU the most is that we both like teach each other and learn from each other. People might see me the most because I'm in a very public-facing position, but I must recognize the DSU fam because I've been able to learn so much about myself, about this community, about disability history, accessibility needs, disability in education, in the news and legislation, and just being able to have these open conversations where people are able to be curious, they are able to complain and be vulnerable, and just be together, and that has educated me a lot. With all of the education advocacy projects we have going on as well, I just really need to give thanks to them.
That's really sweet of you. I feel like it's really great to also like shout out like community work and like how it's not just like the leadership roles that are like active in these things, it's any general member, any person that kind of takes a really like important step in like advocacy for that. So I think that's really amazing. I feel like that was so sweet of you to like, which is like amazing for you to spotlight that. But anyway, like what does it mean for you to kind of create space for disabled students on campus? And could you kind of share like a particular moment in time where you felt like that was like kind of successfully achieved?
Yeah, I would say just letting people come together in an environment where we can almost always guarantee that it's free of judgment, Oftentimes people will share things, people are open to learning, to connecting, to growing together, and oftentimes when things are shared, people can relate. And that is really, really special. I always feel this success, particularly at the beginning of every semester. The first meeting of every semester that we do what we call a resource roundtable. And this is where new students can come in and returning students can come in, and we kind of just do an exchange of information of like, okay, was this office helpful to you? Who do you recommend as a professor? What are some programs, apps that you find helpful as a disabled student to get through college? And a lot of our returning students come, even though they've probably heard this semester and semester again, to talk to our new members and kind of like initiate them in a way and help them kind of ease into college and give their recommendation, their advice. And that's always really special because like students often remark after this first official collective meeting that it is truly something special to have a space that was made by disabled students for disabled students. There's not many spaces like that exist outside of our university, so it's really nice to provide this feeling of like welcoming and belonging, because that is really imperative to students well-being and success.
I feel like it's really good for like connecting others,
Yeah.
and, you know, like the ones who have already experienced things. But like I feel like it's a good thing. It's like you can always learn more, even as like a new, as a like a
And we do.
accident. Yeah, that's really great. So, you know, as a disabled student, what kind of advice would you kind of give to other students with disabilities on kind of like navigating the university and in the workplace? And like if you've noticed any kind of changes that you would like to see at Binghamton University to kind of improve the experience of other disabled students?
Yeah, I would say in professional life, it really is a difficult thing to come to terms with the fact that you need to be your own advocate a lot of the time. A lot of times disabled people are often left to create their own solutions and their own accommodations and have to really fight for those rights. But you know, there are resources all around you, especially here at college, but even in a professional world, you don't really know until you ask. Advice that I have for employers always are that solutions need to be individualized. Accessibility can look like many different things. It comes in many forms. And for our campus community, I would say there are so many different campus partners and university offices and student organizations that are here to help students, right? So you're not just paying for your classes here at Binghamton, you're paying for the full experience. Right now on campus, there are a lot of movements. I mean, we're petitioning to get broader food options in the dining hall for people with dietary restrictions. We're hoping to get QR codes, if you've noticed those on the outside buildings. We're trying to get them on the inside like buttons as well. Soon it'll be mandated actually by New York State for organizations and offices to use accessibility features, tech accessibility features, like alternative text on media posts or closed captioning during lectures or videos, and that's all really important. Right now we're actually collaborating with the Vice President for Student Success Office. I have a position there as Director of Policy, and SSD as well, which is Services for Students with Disabilities, which is the office that best supports students because those are the ones who are able to give legal accommodations to students in the academic environment. But we're working on a social media accessibility campaign where 2 different clubs will have the opportunity to win $400 if they follow accessibility guidelines. You can follow our Instagrams. We have all the information there.
Thank you so much for sharing about that. I feel like it's a really good movement to actually, because I feel like a lot of people just assume accessibility could just be one whole thing, but it's a very individualized thing. And I feel like there's some people who are always like, oh, like it feels like it's unfair to like make more accessibility and all that, but really it's really not. I feel like it's really good to give the support for each student's needs individually than rather just assume things. So I feel like what you're doing is really incredible and super like inspiring and influential, and I feel like you're super involved too. So I feel like, you know, like props for you.
I care about equity and equality and access, man, you know?
And like everyone should.
True.
But anyway, so just kind of wrapping up with our last question, kind of like what roles do you believe that student organizations like DSU kind of play in like kind of like transforming campus community around like disability, mental health, and kind of inclusivity?
Yeah, actually I was just on a panel where we were talking to high school students about this, but I think we can all agree that student orgs, students themselves, we are the campus, right? We are the community, we are a resource, and oftentimes we are what makes Binghamton home for so many students. As our organization stands, and many organizations do, we have the opportunity to positively shape the culture of campus on a structural and individual level, right? Our advocacy and our education advances people's awareness about disability-related issues, news, and legislation, but also our community, as I always say, is a safe space. It provides family and friendship for our students.
And I think that's really incredible. But yeah, thank you so much, Janmariz,
Thank you
for taking the time to like be in a Be Real and telling us about your really incredible work here on campus, and hopefully people who are watching this video can kind of like come to those meetings, can be part of those kind of initiatives, and kind of just, you know, support that really amazing cause. But yeah, thank you so much for being part of our Be Real, and thank you for any of the watchers at Binghamton University. Have a nice day.
Bye all.